All right, hello again, everyone. This is Mangaka again on the laptop because it's early in the morning and I'm not at my desktop, which is at my place. But there's some more Marvel Tokon footage that's been coming around and out, and I wanted to talk about a couple of things. I want to talk about some things that the community was kind of voicing some concerns about, but we've been able to kind of see some of the footage and make some sense of it. And I also wanted to point out a couple of things that you could see that weren't really being discussed in some footage, just because of the circumstances around that footage. I'm going to be looking at a lot of other people's stuff. I mean, we're all kind of just looking at the footage that's coming out from EVO, Maximilian Dood especially. But there was a couple things I noticed, and I wanted to sort of format this into a video just so that there was a place where everybody could kind of see this and break it down. So without further ado, let's talk about some people were really worried about like a sit like how short the combos were because it was kind of looking like we were getting like 12 hit combos only. People were like, "Oh no, that looks bad. Like my creativity, like I want because there's a lot of fighting game players that really like long combos. It's like, okay, how many hits can I do? And or like what's the way to optimize routes, right? And so when you're told that you can only do so many hits, that means that the combo system is going to be fairly limited. Well, we were able to notice here in Maximilian Dude's footage and Famine 3 Pulse or Famine Pulse, I guess, pointed out that hey, if you use an assist in the middle of a combo, the combo limit resets or it goes down. So people are overreacting. And once you see this, you can't really unsee it, right? So this is footage out from Evo. Maximilian Dude's on the couch,
Huh.
and I'm not trying to have the audio play through here right now. So Doom gets this hit, and you can see the blue combo limit right here starting to form, and Doom spikes the character down. And then we see the Captain America assist come through, and then that blue combo limit, that's like your maximum hits in the combo, decreased. And so then Doom is able to get a lot more hits going through. So using your assists or your assembles to extend combos is going to be a pretty big thing in the game. You'll note here though that since the opponent is in hit stun, a tag like this does cost this assemble gauge, and these seem to have a fairly decent cooldown, about maybe like 6 seconds or something like that. And we see that there's another tag at the bottom of it here, and we get like an OGG into some sort of special move in the throw, which we'll also talk about like a little bit of that. So it seems like combos might be fairly limited when you don't have your assemble stuff, but you can extend them using those assembles to get more damage, maybe more corner carry. And I think some of like optimizing this game is going to be figuring out when do I spend that assemble and when do I not spend that assemble. And I think like early game meta might be defined by spending those assembles to extend combos in order to unlock more of your assists by being able to like meet some of the criteria for it. Now, if we jump over to like the 40 minutes of footage that Maximilian Dude has, you should watch this video. Maximilian Dude does point out a lot of things, but because this is like from his Twitch stream, he half the time he's spending like interacting with his chat like a good streamer. And so they're asking a bunch of questions. And hell, there's even some cases where he's talking and answering the same question within like 5 seconds. So there wasn't really a lot of like deep dive into his footage, but there's a lot of things that you could actually pick out from this video, and I wanted to skim through a little bit of it and point out some things that I was able to notice um, through it here. So I'm gonna try and find a couple of parts that I was able to really notice. One thing that you're going to note, so there's like the V shift mechanic that's in the game. I can't remember what it's actually called off the top of my head right now, but it's basically like when you're holding back and you press like I think it's light and assemble. That might be the inputs for it. Right? Like this input right here. So you can see Star-Lord is crouching down. He's got like a little after image effect with him, right? This is like the parry where you are able to, parry an opponent's attack and knock them back. This isn't like the guard cancel when you're in block stun. This is, calling out the opponent when there's a gap in their pressure, right? This does raw, cost and assemble gauge, like on failure state, which means that it's a pretty risky option. Not only because, if it whiffs and the opponent's ready for it, they can run up and punish you, but it also just puts you behind in terms of your active resources. So that was one thing I really wanted to note, although it does go quite far. And let's see, they triggered it about like 82 seconds. So I wanted to count like how long it takes in game for an assemble tick to regenerate, and it does regenerate. Okay, that's cool actually. So even during like some of these long cinematics, the round counter does count down. That's really nice. I say that as a Dragon Ball Fighters player, where every time there's a cinematic thing, whether it's a stage transition, whether it's a super, the timer freezes. So it may be a 5 minute timer at Dragon Ball, but like it's not always counting down. Um, but yeah, it looks like assemble gauges tick down or regenerate by, we started at 82 and like 74. So like 8 second cooldown on assemble gauges seems to be the thing, right? And one thing I want to point out too in this footage, right? People are looking at like how short the combos are going. Like Star Lord did like 6 hits, and all of a sudden we're maxed out on the combo limit. Um, a lot of these players aren't optimizing combos because they're just playing. They haven't been able to go to training mode. They haven't been able to really experiment with that thing, and so they're doing what works. Auto combos work, and it seems like one way of trying to balance the auto combo system, which this is a heavy auto combo. I'm pretty sure because we see Star Lord go for an EX move in here, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's not, but. I think auto combos are going to really scale the combo limit very quickly as a means of balancing them out, right? Like, yeah, you could do this, but to make sure that this isn't the optimal way to play, auto combos are going to be very, very short overall. All right. Some awkward corner steal shenanigans happen. Now wall splat, right? So one thing about the stage transition thing, it's not like Guilty Gear Strive where no matter where you are, like no matter what corner you're in, I should say, um, you get a wall break into a stage transition, right? Like this doesn't infinitely loop. How it sort of works, at least what we've been able to notice from the footage, is if you when you start, you're on this like central stage, right? And both walls break, right? Like they transition one way or another, it seems. So, we push someone into this far corner and we use a special move. You can use a special move. Supers also cause wall breaks. And so you go through and reset to neutral, and also we know that throws seem to do the same thing in some situations. But when you go to this right hand stage, right? So we just went through the from the center stage to the right stage. On the right stage, that right corner wall doesn't break. So like that right corner is actually like a corner, and that's why you see the wall splat happening. Um, and it might also be the case that some special moves cause a wall splat. I'll try to point this out in some footage with Elastigirl. Not Elastigirl. I really just used the Incredibles there. That's kind of funny. There was one interesting moment right here, actually, where it seems like you can jump and steal the corner. Um, I just want to look at that one more time, right? So there is rolling on Wake Up, and you can roll through your opponent to get out of the corner. That will be something that you see in footage a little later. Let's frame by frame this. Yeah, so you can see right here, you can steal the corner, which means that if you put the opponent into the situation, you're able to create like a jump. There's going to be some left-right mix-ups that you can do with jump-ins, right? Um, like Captain is still blocking. Like this wasn't a micro walk forward to then, get him out of the corner. Like Iron Man just steals the corner off of a jump-in. So this means that the corner does have a extra utility for being a mix-up place because you don't just hold back to block. Like you can lose your positioning there. And then we do have like this combo going through here. But you can see here, like, okay, Iron Man does this hit, and I'm pretty sure this hit would wall break in the center of the stage, but because like we're in this right corner, watch what happens instead. Captain America splats in that corner. And because Captain America splatted, you actually see that Iron Man unlocks Doom here. So basically, like, if you use a special move, a certain special moves, like in the corner, if you're in a part of the stage that would actually wall break, you get the wall break and you get the assist. If, however, you're at a corner that doesn't transition to another stage, right? Like because we transitioned from that center stage to the right stage, we're in the right stage. Only that left wall transitions and breaks. The right wall doesn't. And so you get this wall splat stuff. And this might actually be a good place to like set up some Oki, right? So it kind of like there's like a delayed effect to actually getting to a corner where you're able to then like really have like a lot of Oki Zemi, right? So there might be some interesting play where it's like, oh, I don't want to route towards this wall that's going to wall break because then we just reset to neutral. I want to, route towards this one corner that isn't going to break so I can then get these wall splats and maybe there's some Oki that we can get off of that, right? That's something very interesting and I'm completely speculating right now. But that was like something that I kind of noticed, and I don't think there's really any new things to see here. Actually, okay, you might have noticed here. So this is a Wake Up EXDP from Captain America. Like, I mean, this is so DP coded, right? And counter, right? So like, we try to press a button, we have the invincible wake up option, and then you have to watch this. DPs recover in midair. Sorry that my footage is a little grainy. In fact, I wonder if I can improve the quality real quick. But yeah, it seems like there's a lot of DPs that recover in air. And like you can combo solo off of them. Captain America and Miss Marvel, let me say the name right this time, definitely did this like a lot. And this kind of makes me a little worried like, yo, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure you can punish DPs. They're just going to be airborne punishable. But the fact that like, my invincible reversal is something I can combo off of solo is freaking degenerate, actually. And we're going to see that pretty consistently across some other characters. I'll try to point it out when we get other instances of it, right? But yeah, this like auto combo. You can see like the assist extends a little bit. We didn't really get the full knockdown here. And again, watch, right? So there was like some, I don't know, everyone's bagging on this like guy I don't know, like H2O. Like I literally never heard them in my entire life. But everyone's like, oh, look at this person. Like, he's talking like how his whole family died. In fact, if I scrolled through my tweets, I could probably find it, but it's unimportant. Right? Oh, you can't even throw, and the game stops you from having fun. Like you just lose Oki. No, you don't. Like if you're in this corner, you keep the corner here because this right wall on the right stage does not break. So your throws here can lead to Oki. But the wake up game uh, is a big 2H. The wake up game, though, it can be a little more complex because there is rolling on wake up and there is a forward roll. Right, so we get a KO mid stage. I'm trying to see where my next like moment of interest is. Oh, yeah, you can get like the spike here, but some characters like Captain America, you can like foot dive or like just do a dive and bring them down to the ground off of 2H. So I think there's going to be some utility for characters that off of your 2H, if you can bring them back down to the ground to extend with your assist, it's going to be really big. Oh, this would have been a really good moment. Dang it. So here we see, don't forget, right? Like if you're trying to uh, cross protection, right? Crossover, you get this sort of thing. You get the overhead instead. And we saw that overhead was blocked, but we didn't actually get to see if it was punishable because we're just trying to cross over, right? And of course, then you can tag or you don't have to tag, right? We get the super into a DHC. And I'm trying to find like the next like real big moment of like interest here. It doesn't look like you can tag off of a crossover. And they're sort of just doing like I think medium model combos into super. Max talked about like the combo limit here for a bit of time because this is where he was trying to point that stuff out too, right? But now actually, so we can see here that this whole system, we've spent a lot of our time in this round in that player two corner, the right side corner. But now that we're back to the middle, once you go to that left corner on this right stage, then you're hitting a wall that actually breaks and you get this transition, right? So I think this creates a very interesting meta game where like on that first stage, the center stage where either wall leads to a transition, like the corner is not really that great. It's going to be a little weaker. But then, like, once you get to one stage, I feel like both sides are going to try to fight for the one corner that doesn't break in order to get, like, that stronger offense going. But either way, like as far as unlocking your assist goes, that's all the same because a wall break and a wall splat unlock an assist. But I think that creates some like very interesting decisions in how you want to try and route combos, right? Like fighting for a particular corner versus not. So we see like airborne hit here. You'll notice round starts are not fixed. You can move around, kind of like Melty Blood at a round start. So it's a little more dynamic stuff, right? So kind of like, incentivizes chaos. But right here, this is another moment where I can show that like this is like Miss Marvel's DP, right? I mean, so DP coded. Excuse me. She was able to swing on the way down. Like that's kind of corny, but okay. It does mean that like DPs can have some combo fodder where you can use them to launch up the opponent and then extend, but it also means that like I can combo off of my meterless reversal. I imagine that there is a punish window, but you have to jump up and punish them, which might mean that like I'm not sure what that means for like the value of punishing a DP in this game. Maybe aerial starters are better, maybe they're not, but that's definitely going to be something that's going to take people getting used to. Of course, you see Miss Marvel just doing Marvel things. We're getting pushed to that right side of the stage, and we get the transition. And now that we're on this left side of the stage, this left wall is like the Oki wall where it's only wall splats, and the right wall is the wall that you can transition back to the middle of the stage. If I were going to see Miss Marvel here, you know, go for this super. And we saw that this super wall breaked before, right? We saw that on that right stage when she did it to that left wall. But now that we're on this left stage, when she does this, she just gets a knockdown. And you can see here that Star-Lord rolled forward, and this roll forward does go through the opponent, right? So there's going to be some wake up mind games, and I imagine that there's going to be like using an assist, which would be a free assemble call in a neutral state because like the opponent is like recovering, they're not in hit stun or block stun to like cover those rolls and create like Oki situations, right? Kind of like a little throw punish right there. Star-Lord gets this hit here. We switch and tag into Doom. And again, so you can see that blue bar. It's pretty low, and then it goes, well, it was pretty high, it was around here, and then it dipped significantly. So like, optimizing your combos, if you want to get longer combos and more damage, tagging into other characters is going to be the way that you do that. And so that's what's going to be incentivizing using this as like a tag switch fighter, or at the very least, you'll note that it only affects it when you do the assist itself, right? So like we assembled and it went down once, and then as we're switching to Doom, it doesn't go down again. Which maybe it should go down again when you tag into a character, right? Maybe you should. There's that crossover. Like we found the button. That's a command throw from the look of it, or maybe just her throw. So that's like a couple of things to like really note out of this. Right, this is the throw. The throw in mid stage like breaks the wall, right? But if you do the throw and you're in the correct corner, then it doesn't get that wall break. So before we sit here forever and just basically watch this entire video, the things that we can pull away from is that corner Okazemi is limited, but it's not as weak as it is in Guilty Gear Strive, where it's all about like the wall breaks and stuff like that, right? And then you get the hard knockdown super. Instead, you're kind of fighting for a particular position, right? Where I wonder if the metagame is going to go in a direction where from the neutral stage, from center stage, you're fighting to go through one of the walls. And then once you go through one of the walls, the corner that doesn't transition, the corner that gives you wall splats instead, is like prime real estate. And we just start fighting over in that corner instead. Um, Now, obviously, the game flow might be something where it's like if side swaps are a little bit limited in some of the combo routing, then you kind of just have to go with whatever flow that is there. But if there is a lot of easy side swapping potential, then it's like no, I want to put my opponent into like the good corner, right? And I think wall splat might be like one of the ways to get sort of like a hard knockdown in the game just because like we do see that there is rolling in the game and you can roll through your opponent. So if you get just a normal knockdown in the corner, you're trying to cover between them staying in the corner and them rolling out of the corner. We've also seen that, you can jump and steal the corner just by jumping right into it, right? So there's going to be probably some development of setups where you can do a jump or a high jump even and control which side of the corner that you land out of as another means of mixing up the opponent. But that's really only going to be effective in situations where the opponent doesn't just roll themselves out of the corner, right? And you kind of start playing mind games like that. We also see that DPs recover in air, which means you're going to have to do aerial punishes on DPs right now. And it also means that you can just combo off of DPs without an assist. We don't really see an assemble called when a DP is used, so I do wonder if like there is a lockout on using an assemble. I don't think anyone's mentioned that yet, but if someone has in some part of like all this content coming out around Marvel Tokon, I'd appreciate being informed in the comments below. And we do see that like that I do want to find this one bit of footage about throws, right? Like I'm pretty sure it happens right around here. And it kind of seems like, a lot of throws, like if you're in mid screen, um, it's right about here, I want to say, or at least it was. Yeah, this is like Star-Lord Super, get the knockdown, punish that assist, didn't get the confirm. I can't find this footage right now, but um, we see that combos are extended by using an assist. It doesn't seem like tagging has an extra benefit unless there's a positional advantage, right? Which I imagine that depending on where your assemble like sort of ends their spawn or where you are positioned in your assemble's position, it might be advantageous to swap to your assemble in order to get the side swap to then keep like the corner that doesn't break after you transition from the center stage. So that's going to be an interesting mind game to have, especially because like, oh, my throw doesn't just reset us to neutral. We're gonna keep the corner and keep some offense going, and then play like the do you roll out of the corner or not sort of mind game, right? Um, lot of interesting things to really pick apart from this footage. And one thing to always say too is that we're not going to fully understand this game for a bit, simply because the people who are playing it haven't had time to dissect and understand it. There's a lot of mechanics that weren't really being used. Like we never saw Maximilian Dude says this like he couldn't figure out what the super dash button was when it's like light and assemble. I'm pretty sure in midair. Um, and even then, I might be wrong on the input, right? Um, there's a lot of things that we have to really uncover and explore with this game. And so, you know, don't jump to conclusions based on what you see, right? Like people were dooming about how limited the combos were, but right in the footage itself, we were just missing the fact that a tag, lowers the combo limit gauge, right? So there's a lot of things to uncover, but super interesting to kind of see how the corners interact on the different stages, what you can do around the corners, what the Okizeme situation looks like, the whole thing with like DPs recovering in air to let you combo off of them. Um, yeah, there's a couple of things to unpack, and we'll see what changes and what doesn't change as time goes on. Um, again, y'all, I probably don't have to be the one to say this. Check out Maximilian Dood's channel. The link to his video that I'm literally pulling the footage from is going to be over there. I just simply wanted to point out things that he wasn't able to point out because he had to interact with his Twitch chat and compile the thoughts there. If there's any other footage or things that you guys have noticed, do share it in the comments below. And I hope you're all looking forward to Marvel Tokon like I am. I'll catch you around in the next video.